I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Lori?
Okay. Mr. Battisti?
Here.
Dr. Bush?
Here.
Ms. Zapata?
Here.
Mrs. Mancini? I know she's there. Mrs. Mancini? Okay. Reverend McCurd?
Here.
Mr. Murdoch?
Here.
Mr. Penninger?
Here.
All right. We know Deanna's there somewhere. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we get into public comment, I'd like to welcome Mr. Roberti, our new superintendent, who will begin July 1st. Thank you for joining us this evening. We're very happy that you're here, you know, right from the get-go and listening to what's happening.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Lori, do we have anybody from the public that gave anything for us to know about in public comment session?
Yes, we actually have a couple.
All right. We know Deanna's there somewhere.
The first one is from a high school junior named Gabriella Morodo, and she wrote to the Amsterdam School Board. Hello, my name is Gabriella Morodo. I'm a junior at AHS, and I am part of many programs at school. But this isn't just about me. It has been brought to the student body's attention that due to budget cuts, extracurricular activities may be eliminated. This has taken a toll on our emotions, as extracurriculars mean so much to us. My fellow student government officers and I sought to try to be heard. We have collected some responses from our classmates who are in a wide variety of clubs to show how much they mean to us. The student responses we received were all very heartfelt. To begin the responses, we will look at how we escape reality. Extracurriculars allow us to clear our heads and not focus on anything school related. These are quotes from other students that she's portraying to us. Made me feel a part of something, that there is no judgment and it's just a comfortable environment. It's also a calm space that offers ways more than just running advice. Next, we gain from extracurriculars. They both have taught me self-confidence, responsibility, leadership, and more. I've had the chance to do some things I love while being taught by teachers who truly love music as well. Clubs and sports teach students lessons that will resonate with them for life. Lastly, what you are taking away from us. To make these cuts of the marching band is to make cuts of the pride of Amsterdam. Having volleyball taken away my senior year would kill me. The school newspaper gives students a way to discuss topics and events that are happening in our world today. These are only a few responses and aren't even their full quotes. Given more time, if allotted, we would be able to reach out to the whole student body, coaches, advisors, and parents to show how impactful our activities are. Yes, we are aware of the hardship our community is facing right now, but this is not the correct way to handle this issue. We should be trying to build the school's reputation instead of deteriorating it. There is a sense of additional pride and joy that comes with being involved at school, in addition to the required participation in academics. Everyone comes to school and just takes the same classes every day. Extracurriculars give us all something to look forward to in the day. Extracurriculars allow us to branch out and further explore ourselves. They help us to make future decisions about what we want to pursue. Our future colleges will want to see us getting involved outside of the class, and without the extracurriculars, we will not be able to stand out. We have worked very hard for as long as we've been able to have our fun taken away. It's not fair for us. We are having clubs and teams that we have built up for years just ripped away. There has been other approaches to this crisis that can save our programs. fundraisings can be an option. Clubs can get by without school aid. To make these cuts of the marching band and other activities is to make cuts in the pride of Amsterdam. So on behalf of us students, please don't take away the part of high school that means the most to us. We're just not ready yet to hang up our uniforms, nor are we ready to close the doors of opportunity. Not yet. Sincerely, the AHS Junior Student Government. And then she included quotes from various students. The first is Lucas Sarabia. He's in marching band, swim, and other clubs. And he says, I definitely think it is unfair that we are having clubs and teams that we have built up for years to drift away. I just hope they reconsider. Caitlin Litchfield plays volleyball and girls lacrosse. Volleyball literally means everything to me, truly everything to me. The sports in Amsterdam bring everyone together. I met my best friends in some of my sports, and I would want to have it, and I wouldn't want to have it any other way. And having that taken away my senior year would kill me. David Bertucci is marching band and other clubs. I don't see why fundraising isn't an option. Clubs can get by without school aid. Marley Lazinski is in marching band, and she says, I've been involved with the music program in our district since 5th grade. As I've progressed, I've met some of the most important people in my life, gained confidence in myself, and have had the chance to do something I love while being taught by teachers who truly love music as well. Marching band is at every football game and every parade. The community loves the band, and we're great at what we do, having awards to show for it, even traveling out of state to compete. The marching band brings the excitement to football games, to pep rallies, parades, and to the community as a whole. Noah Britton is in marching band and lacrosse. Well, both are unique outlets for me. In the beginning of the year, I can positively impact the student and staff with music and even some drumline tricks. I love making people smile, and music never fails to do so, even with this great start to the year. Towards the end, there's always stress, and lacrosse gives me peace where I can clear my head and not focus on anything school related. And we've got Sean J. Ramos, track and soccer, student government officer. In middle school, I was never really a sport person, but as my 8th grade year began, I decided to run on the varsity team, and I can say that it is the best decision I've ever made. The track and field team has become my second family. Not only is it a competitive sports team, it's also a calm space that offers ways more than just running advice. Track and field has taught me many life lessons and has made me become a better person by teaching me dedication, pain, and success. As for the soccer team, I've only been playing since 10th grade, but the team is like no other. Our coach, Mr. Williams, had always preached to us about revising the culture of our soccer team, which we had planned to do throughout this upcoming season. And we are not ready to say goodbye to all the progress and work we have put in just yet. There is nothing better than having a Friday night game under the turf lights, being cheered on by the AHS student body. Ooh, I think they added more to this document since I first got it. Okay. Next, we have Brooke Marshall, cross country and track, and she's a student government officer. Running track and cross country has been my life since I first joined middle school. On behalf of myself and my team, we would be devastated to lose such an amazing sport. Running on this team has truly made me who I am. I've met some of my best friends, and it's taught me how to push myself through tough times. Losing track and cross country would mean losing the time I look forward to every day, to see all my friends and coaches and do what I really love. AHS track and cross country has had so much success over the years and has made some amazing student athletes. I can't imagine how they would feel knowing their old team that they had done so much to make successful is just gone. Natalie Flint plays tennis, is a majorette and a student government officer. I speak on behalf of the whole tennis team and all of the majorettes when I say that it would be devastating to lose such remarkable sports. I would not be the person I am if not for these extracurriculars. They have both taught me self-confidence, dedication, responsibility, leadership, and have even improved my social skills. I've made some great friends throughout my tennis and majorette career so far in high school and should not have to say goodbye to it all just yet. We have Elijah Thomas, Operation Smile, and Student Government Officer. Operation Smile gives students a chance to help real families and children get their medical attention they'd otherwise have no chance attaining. This club, along with other clubs and sports, teaches students lessons that will resonate with them for life, and it would be ultimately devastating as a whole student body if we had to lose our extracurriculars. Gabby Moroto, softball, majorettes, and student government officer. These clubs and sports have given me a home outside of my real home. I've created bonds I'd never want to break. Losing these activities is like losing a best friend. I've been able to become a leader. I've been able to build my confidence up, and I've been able to fight through pain. My extracurriculars over the course of high school have helped shape me as an individual. Taking them away from us takes away unity in the school. Caitlin Mickle is in the color guard. Marching band season is the peak of each of my years of high school. This year I would be captain of the color guard team. This year we will have 7 new girls, more than doubling the size of our team from the last 2 years. And to have the possibility of my final year being stolen from me terrifies me. The marching band gave me somewhere to belong. We have put on countless breathtaking shows, and if the marching band is cut, there is no doubt you will be letting down the entire city of Amsterdam. We are the pride of Amsterdam, bringing more spirit to the football field than cheerleaders could ever dream of. To hear the whole town cheering while we perform in the homecoming parade, you never feel more enveloped in the community. These cuts would not only break the hearts of the students who love marching band with their entire souls, it will break the hearts of their parents who love to see their children finally happy. It will break the hearts of grandparents who have always looked forward to making it to at least one show a year. It will break the hearts of adults without children who watch the band at every performance. To make these cuts of marching band is to make cuts of the pride of Amsterdam. Please think critically before taking away the only source of happiness for some of your students. Please think critically before making this catastrophic mistake. Naja Martin is in Masterminds. Masterminds was the first club that I joined in high school. I have made more friends in that group with people I probably never would have met or gotten to talk to. It also helped me to have more confidence in myself. I've had such a good time in the club, and I always look forward to our matches and even practices. Before Masterminds, I was never really involved in much, and it helped me branch out more. This club really made me feel a part of something, and there is no judgment, and it is just a really comfortable environment. It should be here next year and many years after because other schools have the chance to have the awesome experience that I did. Olivia Holloway's in the newspaper club. The school newspaper gives students a way to discuss topics and events that are happening in our world today. Teens should understand the importance of free speech. Writing gives them an opportunity to use their voice and express their opinions in a formal manner. This goes for all sports clubs. Being involved in after-school activities gives kids something to look forward to. Most of the time, it is something they're passionate about. For some, it's the only thing that gets them to school. Taking that away will make a large impact on school spirit and image. And finally, we have Seth Sislow, who's in marching band. Marching band means almost everything to me. We are a family. We are the school spirit. Without us, the school spirit is gone. There would be no pep rally, no school alma mater played at games. There is no trip for us upcoming seniors. This trip is a fun way for us upcoming seniors to say goodbye and a fun way to the rest of the band. Without the marching band, most people at the football games won't be there. There wouldn't be that fun spirit you get from listening to the band's shenanigans. And most importantly, what would you do during halftime? All these things might not have seemed important at first, but just think about how much the marching band means to our community. how much we actually do. We do parades, pep rally, football games, and even competitions, and we win the compilation. So if you end up taking away the marching band, you take away my family. Okay, so that's that. And then we also have, I received something from Stan Goronsky, the OSEP teacher, and he says, I just found out the OSEP program may not be back in the fall of 2020. Though I understand that these are difficult economic times, I still feel that eliminating the OSEP program would be a mistake. The OSEP program not only assists students who have been suspended academically, but it also helps students to change their overall behaviors and mindset so that they can return to the regular school setting with a much better chance to succeed. The students who are assigned to the OSEP program regularly do better academically than when in a regular school setting. An example of this can be seen in the recently completed third quarter, where long-term OSEP students passed their classes at over a 90% rate. Also, it should be taken into account that in the last 13 years, the OSEP program has existed. There has been only 3 altercations, a few behavioral issues, despite the fact that many of these students are considered high behavioral challenges. In closing, I equate this to a diet where you are trying to trim away any fat, but OSEP is anything but fat. It is lean muscle, and you never trim lean muscle. Thank you, Stan Goronsky. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Is that it, Laurie?
Yes, that's it.
Dr. Bush, I've got a question. Just a point of clarification. We received an update from the superintendent back on the 15th, where item number 1 said the marching band has been removed from the reduction list of extracurricular activities. Did that not take place?
I'm sure the superintendent's going to talk about that when he does his report, and when Colleen gives her report as well on the budget. I know that's been a very emotional item, and I think that we're going to hear some good news tonight. So without that being said, under board communication, we didn't get this directly, but our student representative, Tyler Krakow, did send an email to the superintendent, and he shared that with each of the board members in your packet. And it was just a wonderful, heartfelt a note from Tyler, and I just wanted to make sure that if you didn't see it in your packet, please take a look, because it was one of the nicest emails recognizing not only the superintendent, but all of the efforts on the part of the Board of Education members. So I just very, very proud of that, and I just want to bring it to everyone's attention. That being said, that's a perfect example of our outstanding students that attend our schools. Right now, we have the superintendent's report. Are you ready, Dr. Colucciello?
Dr. Bush, members of the board, good evening. First of all, I want to thank you for the hard work you've done online and keeping up with all of the material that you've received in the last few days. Mr. Penninger is right. The board had directed us to go back and look at that reinstatement of the marching band. And under your direction, Colleen has done a great deal of work to move things around. Remember, the board does know that you're voting this evening on a total amount of dollars. And within those total amount of dollars, there is movement that can happen after the board approves a budget. Now, the more important thing is the budget vote on the 9th, and how all of these students who eloquently talked about these programs. However, if this budget doesn't pass on June 9th, we are not going to be able to even institute or keep any of these, because under a budget that is a contingent budget, there will be no tax increase, but there'll be no extracurricular activities as well as sports. So our main goal as a community is to support this budget on the 9th, and it's critical. You heard every one of those activities may be able to go back depending upon stimulus money, depending upon some of the things. And I know with Mr. Roberti's leadership, some of this will happen. However, without a positive vote on the 9th, it's going to be impossible to reinstate any of these programs because they're automatically taken out of the budget. So I'd like to say we had a great response from the students. Now we need a great response from all of our voters. We have put forth the best budget that we could have under the worst conditions in 100 years. The budget allows for the fact that we may get significant cuts in the next few days. We had expected to hear about them by the 15th, as you know, and we delayed having this meeting. And then when we were hearing no change in our aid allotment at this point, we went ahead with the leanest budget that this community can have while still looking at the possibility of reinstating some of these activities, which means so much, as you heard this evening, to our students. But as the board's request, the marching band has been reinstated. The other items are still part and parcel of the Tier 4 reductions, which are based on the governor taking approximately 20% state aid back in his first round of cuts. As you know, the second round are in January. We worked hard. We tried to minimize the number of staff members. There were 28 and a half positions eliminated, nearly in the 10% range of our staff, while at the same time that meant about 8 individuals would be released. Again, I think that's work that this community has to thank this board and this administrative staff for the work they did to minimize those people, because these are our workers who've been with us. They mean a lot to us. And reducing this force of teachers was not easy. With respect to OSEP, I don't think that was in any part of our cuts, reductions. I'll leave that to be confirmed by Mrs. DiCaprio, but I don't think that was part of what we had. We talked about reducing some of the slots in ADK. We talked about reorganizing OTED, but I don't think we said elimination of OSEP. So I'm not sure how that news got out there, but I want to clarify it. OSEP was not on the reduction of programs. In fact, what we did with programs was if we could pare them down so that someday you could get them back. We also said programs where students had to finish up their careers were left there. We had promised them those programs. We didn't touch those programs. So whenever possible, we reduced rather than eliminated. And for the third time, OSEP was not one of the ones on there. I do think the force of our students and encouragement that they can give to our public and our community, that what we provide in Amsterdam is critical. What we provide for them lasts for years beyond their school years. And if they support that, it's really going to be helpful. In the past, if you weren't successful at first with your budget, you could go back. I don't think there's been any direction, but I also don't think there's time enough to go out to 14,000 people again. I suspect that if we do not pass this on June 9th, we'll be going right to contingency, which again will mean much more, won't give you an opportunity. You won't be able to go back if you received additional funds. It wouldn't happen. We still have a couple of things that we're looking at. We've shared with the board. Retirements are a possibility. Federal state stimulus is a possibility. The reduction of less than 20% is a possibility. We have provided the board with the worst possible scenario, with the understanding, if it comes to be the worst, Amsterdam School District is prepared to suffer through it. We have online this evening all our members of our cabinet. None of them have any reports, but they are available for any board members for questions. But in the interest of time and our efforts, we're going to go right into the budget with Mrs. DiCaprio. our business manager to finalize what she's done. If the board elects to pass and approve this budget this evening, tomorrow morning, we start out in preparing for this distribution of newsletters, all of the things that have to be done in the shortest time frame school districts have had in the history of schools in New York State. But thank you for meeting tonight instead of tomorrow night. You probably don't understand what one day is going to do for us. We're chomping at the bit to move on and to work toward this community to get a positive vote toward this budget this year. So with that, Madam President, I turn it over to our business manager.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. And I hope that we have a lot of listeners out there that can clarify some misconceptions, but at the same token, understand the severity and the importance of going out and voting for the budget, just so that we don't disappoint the students that attend our schools. That being said, okay, Colleen, let's go with the budget.
Okay. As we mentioned before, thank you everybody for being on tonight. We did do a larger presentation the last Board of Ed meeting. So my intent this Board of Ed meeting is to really recap. And Dr. Clucciel did a lot of the summarization of what I was going to speak on tonight. But really, this took a lot of work between administration and our staff. And really, in every attempt that we are doing this budget, it really was for the intent to minimize the least impact on the students, continue as many programs as we could for the kids, and really try to keep the staff. And I think overall, considering what we're facing with 28.5 positions through attrition and some through staff reduction, and then utilizing some of the federal funds, I think, what we're facing right now, we really did, I think, the best that we could do. Dr. Clucciel mentioned about going out with the worst, and we're not the only district, obviously, that's facing the same uncertainties, and a lot of our neighboring districts are also anticipating a large cut. So when we went out with our first two budget preparations in our presentations, the first one actually started with a governor's executive budget, which had a good increase in state aid. Then obviously, I always call it pre-COVID and post-COVID era. Pre-COVID, everything looked great. Pandemic hit. Then the governor came out with his enacted budget, which gave us the flat state aid and our foundation aid, which reduced our aid. But then obviously, as the pandemic came along, the state's finances obviously tanked as well. So giving that opportunity, he has stated several times about the 20% reduction in state aid. So given that fact, we went out with different tiers. Tier 1 was thinking that flat state aid, then tier 2 and tier 3 came along. And in those tier 2 and tier 3 is where we really tightened our belts and looked where we could do the best with the least impact on all of our staff. So what we presented as the board tonight is a total budget of a little close to $76,000. It's $75,858 and $918. Each of you have received this package, which gives you the detailed line items. What that is indicating is really from the budget 1 to budget 3, as I refer to it, is overall spending down from last year of 1.74% decrease, which again, if you look at last year's spending, that went up. Now we're down and decreased our spending by 1.3 million. In this budget number 3, we are proposing a 3% tax levy increase. Initially, we went out with a 3.5%, but we realized that may be a little bit of a stretch on our taxpayers, so we tightened our belts again, went down to 3%, and added $105,000 additional to our fund balance that we're using. Overall fund balance use is going to be about 2.5 million. So then I just want to step back on the 3% tax levy increase. When you look at that overall, we have about 8 taxing jurisdictions in our district. Of those 8 taxing jurisdictions, 7 of them will actually see a decrease. The only part or jurisdiction that's going to see an increase is our city of Amsterdam. where in prior years, each of those cities had a reduction. The overall increase that we're looking at an average $100,000 house is about $107 a year, which is about $26 or $27 per quarter. So when we're faced with what we're looking at, the tax impact is really minimal when you look at everything. So and then as we looked at the state revenues, again, the state revenue shortfall is close, dollar value is about 1.6 million. And again, what we're facing, I think we really did the best impact. And I know the extracurricular clubs were brought into the time frame. So what we did based on Board of Ed conversations is reinstated the marching band. So in that $75 million, we shifted some things around. The marching band is now back in. So I think that's positive news for everybody. As Dr. Clucciello mentioned, if there is, this budget does get voted down, most likely we will have to go straight to contingency. And many people ask, what does that contingency mean? Going to a contingency means that we are not allowed to go out with any tax levy increase. That 3% tax levy increase is about $626,000. Automatically off this budget, we would have to knock off a little over $626,000 in expenditures. In that $626,000, extracurricular comes off, and so does sports. Those are non-mandated items, and they do have to come. There's other items such as the use of our facilities for free. People would, if they wanted to use our facilities, they would have to pay. But really, when you go to contingency, a lot of those items that we're talking about and that a lot of the students represented will be taken out in contingent. So we always, as Dr. Bush mentioned and Dr. Clucciello mentioned, is please go out and vote. We are doing a lot within this budget, considering what we're facing. And it's up to you, especially with the absentee ballots that are going out, to make sure that you participate in the vote. And then one last thing, as we talked about, there are, of those 28.5 positions, it's not just our teaching staff. This is across the board. We include 3 administrators. There's instructional and non-instructional staff as well, which includes our aides, our custodial, and our clerical. So with that, again, I didn't do a whole scenario as we did the last budget, because we did go in more depth. But there's also the possibility, as the governor he has that option because of the deficit, to do look back periods. So there's 3 or 4 different periods that he can go back and actually make additional state aid cuts. We're hoping that with what we have presented, that hopefully we've gotten ahead of that and maybe adjust that curve and don't have to go back for additional reductions. The best possible alternatives, obviously, is a windfall from the federal government that gives us some money, and that will allow us the opportunity to do more and put some items back.
Okay. Thank you, Colleen. Are there any questions from anyone?
It's not a question, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that aren't aware that it's an absentee ballot. And I think that should be emphasized, that the vote this year will be by mail.
Right. So with the governor's executive order that came out about 2, maybe 3 weeks ago, he has mandated, obviously, because we can't have a public vote because of the COVID-19 situation, that we have to mail out close to 14,000 ballots. So, which is why we pushed up this meeting, so we can get the ballots all prepared, because we also have to have those translated. So that we have a very, very tight timeline. Lori has been on top of it, and I commend Lori for all the work she's put into it. It's a lot of work. We have to get these ballots out pretty darn soon, which is why we moved this meeting up and hope for the board to adopt it so we can get all those numbers plugged into the ballots and get those mailed in a timely fashion.
Colleen, can Mr. Notzel put something on the district website about absentee ballots, and even contact the recorder, either Mr. Jason Subic or Mr. Watson? I think he's the other, Zachary, that would do an article and just make a big push for the public to be able to see that it's going to be absentee ballot They don't even have to put a stamp on it. It's already stamped, and all they have to do is cast their ballot and put it back in the mailbox before, the deadline. And maybe it's possible to do something like that.
So there will be a postcard. We will be having a postcard. The postcard also mentions all this information, and I believe John has already started that process of putting the ballots on the website. John, if you're online and you want to type in, I believe that's already on the website.
You can't say it enough times.
I don't know if John is on, but it is already on the website.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Quick question with reference to that. Now the count. What does the state mandate? I guess it would come out of state ed. What are they saying? How do we know if we're getting an independent count on that? Because it is the budget, and if the budget's being counted by the district, of course, there's a high possibility, and I'm not saying our district, but there's a high possibility that the count would make it so that the budget would pass. So have they put items in place so that the count of the absentee ballots could be independent?
So there are election laws for the board, and we have a system that we're implementing that addresses just what you said, which is a great point. I'll let Lori jump in because she's the election and one of the persons who's leading this. She does all of our elections. We have an election count team, which is ready. We're going to be practicing tomorrow morning. We have a session where she has to hire inspectors, Mr. Penninger. They all have to be residents of the city. They have to go through the training process. Our count will be public. It'll be held on the evening, beginning at 5 p.m. on the 9th, and it'll be held in the media center. We have teams counting, double counting, and again, it'll be screened live. And we are working at it tomorrow morning with the counters and the double counting. And we've done this before with elections. I'll let Lori jump in, but we have an election team with a number of people with the counters, the second counters, and again, those to look at any of the counts that are questionable. We have attorneys on call that evening because we know we'll need them. And we're trying to practice it ahead of time, actually. We're doing it on the basis of, okay, if we get 14,000 back, we're going to go through a dry run of how many can we open in an hour and how many can we open and go through the second phase in an hour. So tomorrow morning, we'll have some of the logistics finished by the team, and I'll let Lori jump in because we've done some preliminary work with our attorneys on this.
Thank you, Dr. Colucciello.
Well,
Lori,
actually, Dr. Colucciello pretty much covered everything. Just as he said, we pretty much just put together a team, hoping to at least have more people than we need, and depending on how many ballots we get, if we get 14,000 back, well, then we'll need all the help we can get. If it's, a more.
Are all these team members non-employees or contractors of the district, or are any of them contractors or employees?
No, they're not. They're all employees of the district. To my knowledge,
they are employees of the district that are doing the count?
Yes. From what I understand in other districts that I've talked to, it sounds like all the districts are doing pretty much the same thing that we're doing. You mentioned independent counters. I haven't heard anything about any districts that were having I'm assuming you mean like outside independent contractors.
I'm just saying, like, we bring in members of the community to man the polls, or they're employees.
You mean like the election inspectors that we hire?
And none of those are employees of the district.
None of those are, no.
And so now all of a sudden we have a vote coming up for a budget for the district, and a matter of fact, out of all those people that you've got coming in, are any of them independent?
Well, but the reason...
Or are they all employees?
The reason we used the county inspectors before was because we used the county machines, and they're all trained on the county machines.
Lori and I have talked about bringing in an independent inspector. And I think your point is well taken. I think we ought to look at that, at least bring in one particular. We've had somebody who's run some of it before. We might be thinking about bringing in one independent inspector who's not involved in it, in our employment, at least having one there who could be like the super inspector for it. I think it, again, transparency is real critical in this.
Correct.
For all of us.
This is the first time. This is the first time we've done something like this.
Right.
I think it needs to be done right.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
I'm going to step in here because Lori and I we were on several sessions with the attorneys, and the attorneys are the ones that recommended, obviously it's the social distancing and having the number of people come in. They had recommended or stated that employees are okay. The biggest issue is having it broadcast live, which is why we will have it Facebook Live. I don't know what venue we're going to be using, but they said in ultimate transparency, have it broadcast live.
Was that Gerben Palazzo or Mr. Mysak? Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
So I have a question regarding the budget itself. And while I appreciate hearing that our hope is that perhaps we would receive more money than we think we might lose, we might be able to reinstate some of the positions or sports that we are thinking of eliminating. I wonder if it's possible to some of the students that spoke a moment ago with their quotes listed a number of sports that they were asking us not to consider cutting. And I know that we are thinking of some sports. I know we as board members have a list. Can we make that public?
Absolutely. In our newsletter that's going out, again, he's starting it. That'll be part of it. Good thought. Sometimes you're hesitant to say if you don't vote positive, these things are going to go. It sounds like a hammer, but I think it's a good idea. I think we can put it in there being factual, matter of fact. I think it's a good idea.
Right, and I recognize that this is a very tough for all of us budget process, and I applaud Colleen and her office and all of the work they've done. But I certainly do have hope that some of the direness of this budget might be realized if we would indeed receive additional funding that we did not think would come from the federal government. So I would join in with others who are encouraging our community to, when we vote for this budget, even though it is a very difficult budget indeed, my great concern is that we will go into a contingency budget that will eliminate, and it will be beyond the hand of the Board of Education or any school officials, that we would lose sports and we will lose all of the extracurriculars. So.
Is there a certain number, a percentage of people that have to go out and vote to make this budget viable?
1 over half of the respondents. Just one vote over it's a simple majority. So okay. If we get 7,000 yeses and 6,999 noes, the budget passes.
Well, I think it's wonderful that all the municipalities that are surrounding the Amsterdam School District, their taxes went down, and hopefully that's a positive sign for them to give us a thumbs up. I'm an optimist, and I'm hoping that with all the information that's been given by central office, hearing the plight of the students from their heartfelt opinions, that hopefully this budget will go out and it will pass. So with that being said, I hope that happens.
I have another question, Dr. Bush.
Okay.
Someone else spoke up before me. I think it was
Mr. Netzel. Mr. Netzel. John?
Hi, everybody. I was watching on YouTube, but I heard you mention me. So I wanted to just let the board know and the community that we know this is going to be a difficult vote in terms of how to vote, because people are used to voting in the traditional ways. I just want to let you know that the Capital Region BoE, the communication service, is going to be producing a video to kind of show people how to vote by ballot, because people aren't used to that. It's going to be a very basic video. It's telling people the things they need to know, like sign the ballot, when it has to be submitted, how to do it, don't forget to do it, those kinds of things. Because we all realize this is a totally different situation we've ever faced with COVID. And those are just some of the things that we're thinking kind of outside the box to let people know. So there's going to be a few different approaches to putting the budget information out this year. And I just wanted to let you know that, because I don't even think I've talked to Dr. Colucciello about that. Yeah, I just found out about that today. So anything else we can do?
Is there anything that you can put in the district newsletter that would give directions for the voters to be able to follow directions in regard to the ballot?
Yes, that's a basic 101 thing. We have that in there, but this is kind of like, we're going to use it on social media for our district Facebook page and things like that. Sometimes video is a little easier for people to digest, and they're going to be getting these ballots in the mail and they're not going to know what this is for. So we're going to try every avenue possible to get people to vote.
Well, that's why I think the newsletter is very important, because we have a lot of senior citizens that don't go on Facebook and are not familiar with the platform for technology. So, and they're a very, very critical part of passing our school budget. So I'm hoping that we can flood the waves and the newsletter and every possible communication piece that we can to help them facilitate learning how to do the ballot.
Don't worry.
Thank you, John.
All avenues.
One other
and Dr. Bush, we'll make sure we get in the recorder as well.
Okay.
Because I know that's a strong venue for our senior citizens in Amsterdam too.
Yes, thank you.
One of the other things I might mention, first of all, Amsterdam loves its schools. You can tell that every day. And all of our bargaining units have said they will be out there getting the people out to vote. They've all made a commitment to help us bring the voter to the new style, but they've also said they're in this with us. So that's good. They're all in there pitching in to make this work for us.
Okay, Curtis, did you still have another question?
Yes. So is Mr. Mysick on with us right now?
Yes.
Okay, so my question is, it was mentioned that the total, I think it was the superintendent that went and stated that we will be voting tonight on a total amount, not towards the assigned expenditures that we've got. It's not line item specific. I think he actually said that. So my question is, when will how will that happen so that it does become specific? Right now, we have part of each board meeting, we have to request to move money from one fund to another fund, okay? So what is going on? If we're going to approve the budget tonight, why aren't we approving the fixed budget rather than, and I don't know, is it written in the resolution that we're going to allow you to move the money around to where you need it to go? And is that legal to even do that? Or if it is, why do we have to each board meeting go and approve expenditure changes from one line item, formatted account to another?
So can I step in on this one?
Yeah.
Okay. So the overall budget is what you are authorizing us to spend $78 million.
Correct.
In that budget, obviously, you have your line item expenditures.
Correct. Which we each have a copy of.
Correct.
Okay.
Which is what you're voting on. Obviously, after we approve that, should we get more state funding or other items come in, we have to go back to you and say, yes, we're going to do a budget transfer. So every budget, it's a budget transfer. So
Correct.
It's movement within the budget on those line expenditure items. So what you've received is what we plan on spending in those expenditure items. However, obviously, things do change depending on expenditures that come in, unanticipated items, which is why every board meeting, if we overspend or we need money from one expenditure to the other, you will get those budget transfers for approval.
Okay, so we are not.
So we're never going above the approved budget total.
I understand that, but
Okay.
We have locked in, like I'm showing right now. We've got the proposed budget for instructional salaries, special ed, K through 5. For just one of the accounting codes, we have $169,187.
Mm-hmm.
So from what you're describing to me, you can go in and you can change that number without getting approval from us in this process.
No. What I'm telling you is that the budget line item expenditure is set as it is right now.
Okay, that's all I need to know. As long as it's set from what we've been given. Now, do I have the latest proposal here or not?
It's the one that you should have been emailed today.
Okay, then I don't have that one. Okay.
So the difference in that is we put money back into from the marching band. We just changed a line item within that budget. It should be in your email.
So what about, I'm concerned about the other programs. So we were looking at $85,000, okay? I think what was the marching band instructors needed $20,000 to pay the instructors, correct?
Correct.
And now we need another $65,000 to pay for the instructors for all of the other programs that we have, essentially. So we did not put in the money. You did not find $65,000 so that we could fund the other programs?
Not at this point. What I put in there was at the request was the marching band.
The bottom line is the budget that the board has to pass, has to talk about and pass tonight so that it can go out to the public for vote. Within that, almost every time we have a board meeting, there's a resolution to transfer funds from the one line item to the other.
That's how any district works.
Okay, so that's the way it is.
Another question I have is going over to the A22. Well, what it is it's under teacher salaries, under the programs and students with disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
I have a handwritten note on this one that says $210,000 reduction due to retirees. Where are you taking that out of? Out of what line item account coding are you going to be removing that $210,000?
So whenever line item counting you have in there, the reductions are already taken in there. So I'm not sure. Everything has been accounted for.
All right. So that would be, that's.
So if it's either through attrition or if there's a possibility to move it into federal funds, those have been accounted for. So if you look at the overall special ed budget, it actually went up.
Correct. I see that. Okay. That's why I was concerned about these retirees that we had.
Right. No, overall, the special ed budget went up because of increases in the student services.
Sitting somewhere in one of my emails from today, is there a total number of hires that we've had since Dr. Colucciello has taken over a year ago? Did you get that number through for us?
We have that. We'll send that to you. We're finalizing it this afternoon. I think since I did, there were three. I think there were three. Colleen or Sandra, you were working on that today. The total numbers since I got here, I said I thought was three.
So what was on when we would walk into your office, you would have a board up and you said there were 100 people that I'm having to get. So how did 100 turn into three?
No, 100. Remember, there were a whole lot of folks left this district.
Correct.
And we've got it. We will show you each of those. Again, we've been getting ready for a few things, and this one was on the burner, but it's just simmering.
Okay.
Okay, are we ready to go on? Any other questions from anyone?
Just one to clarify. When I mentioned a moment ago about listing the sports, and the superintendent mentioned it will be in the newsletter. When would that be made available?
Well, I said tomorrow morning, if this board approves this budget proposal, he's got it rough form, so probably 40% of it's done tonight. I reviewed it earlier this afternoon, but putting on the finishing touches, if this goes through, it'll be probably done, and John's still on there. Say it for him, but he's probably got 60 to 70%. Usually when I say something, he's like radar. He's got it done already.
Ray, I got like 95% done.
Yeah. So with
this
out there, pretty much done. Hearing you this evening, we'll put more in about, listen, if we're not able to pass this, these are the sports impacted. And I think that's the section that you're thinking of.
Right. And while I grieve the loss of any employee, even though we're talking 8, even if it's 1, I do realize sometimes that has to happen, regretfully. But these other cuts also, I think is as open as we can be with our community, will relieve some of the maybe tension that people have regarding, well, what are we not going to have? If we make that known, I think that's the best that we can do. And that newsletter is on our district website as well, so people will know where to get that.
Okay, thank you.
Well, Dr. Bush, I still do not feel good about this $60,000 that we can't find to fund the other instructors for our programs. It's $60,000. We have right now, we've set up reserve accounts. Remember, the comptroller of the state went and we were admonished because of the reserves that we had. And the amount of budget money that we had. And I'm telling you, we've got reserves that we can pull, maybe not to bring the tax amount down, but, for $60,000, we could fund the rest of these all of the programs that we have and pay these instructors.
Well, we gave the central office the decision to come back a week later because the board had some questions about the 3.5. They did do their due diligence. They have come back to the board. The board asked specifically to keep the marching Rams, which they have done, and they have brought the tax rate from 3.5 down to 3. So right now, it is really up to the voters in the community to be able to say their piece, and they've done what we have asked them to do.
Nellie, when you say the voters say the piece, they're not going to get to vote on restoring those the teachers that are doing these other programs, because that's not part of the vote. You've taken that away from all of those Curtis,
we asked them to do something and they've done it. So now it's up to the board to decide whether we are going to sanctify what they have come to us with tonight. Okay.
Nellie, any member of the board could go and right now, I could be voted down, but I could request a resolution to make a move to take from one of our reserve accounts $60,000, okay, in order to pay for it. We can do that. And then.
So I want to remind you that each of those reserve accounts are specified for a specific purpose. In each one of those I just want to put that out there. Each one of those reserve accounts has to be voted on, and it has to be used for its intent and its purpose. Depending on the reserve that we remove from, it depends on how it gets voted on or how it's presented. So I just want to make sure that's out there.
That does not imply that we can't do it, Colleen. You know that. So I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed that the administration couldn't find $60,000 so that we would have funding, so that when the election comes up, the members of the community would be able to vote. You know, I'm kind of surprised. It's $60,000. I wish I could repeat what a fellow board member of mine said years ago when we were talking about $55,000 in the clubs. I'm disappointed. I know that we are under tight constraints. I listened to what the governor said. We're talking $55,000. Now, with that said, we out of the 28.5 positions that you're eliminating, how many are actual people that we are removing teachers now from the ATA? How many are actual teacher positions that people are in the position that we're removing?
To answer the question, there's 8 people altogether, but they're ATA plus their other bargaining units.
But the positions are not filled now, correct, Ray? Are they, or Dr. Colucciello?
8 of them are people. 8 people got pink slips. Okay. 8 individuals got pink slips.
That's what I meant earlier, Curtis, when I mentioned even if it's just one, that's right. Way too many.
I recognize and I agreed with you on that. I was agreeing, okay? But we've got a whole group of balls that we're having to balance. I think Colleen was telling us we had 600,000 in order. That's right now the reason why we have a 3% tax that we're going to go. So I understand that. It doesn't make sense that we can't find. We've got one of the crack administration teams in the capital region, and they couldn't find $55,000. Okay, and I'm appreciative. I'm sorry, 65,000. You did find 20, and I'm grateful for that. The teachers in the marching band and the programs with the marching band will be very grateful. But
would it be possible to take the $60,000 out of the fund balance and put it in to cover those positions?
I would vote for that, Gavin. I would even make the resolution and ask Mr. Mysick to write it up if he were to do that.
Is that an easy switch, Colleen, to do?
If the board wants us to take an additional 60,000, we can do that, and there is no resolution that needs to be done.
All right, I'll make that recommendation.
All
right.
No, wait. No, the difference is okay. So we're going to have to increase the spending. So what you have before you was 75,858. So we'll have to increase spending by $60,000. So we have to revise the budget that's in there.
Colleen, can I chime in here for a second?
Yep.
I thought it was 75 that was being taken out of the athletics.
No, we're talking about extracurricular, Steve.
Oh, okay.
Colleen, define extracurricular, please, so we all know exactly where that $60,000 would go.
So in that, it includes class advisor. So you have the flag team, you have the yearbook advisors, you have, trying to think of all the other clubs, yearbook advisors, the class advisors, I think
Newspaper,
the newspaper. Well,
you
I
have
think
the masterminds.
Drama,
okay.
right?
Yep.
Drama.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Did any of the teachers stand up and volunteer and say that because of we're under this budget issue? Did any of them volunteer and say, like, remember, Gavin, who were the two coaches that we had? Was it
Palzak and Willery?
Palzak? We had two advisors that stood up when we didn't have a winter track program. They stood up and said, we'd be willing to forego our salaries in order to get this jump started. We had zero teachers from any of these clubs come forward and say, hey, for 1 year, I'd be willing to help the students.
Your point is well taken. I think there would step forward. I think timing is another issue, Mr. Penninger.
Okay, thank you.
The timing is another issue. Usually that will happen in good communities like we have, but the timing is the issue. The other is, I don't want to say that the political part of it, but this politicalization to get the stimulus has been part of our problem. If they would just do what they needed to do in the federal government, and I think they are going to do, we wouldn't be having to do this with the timing. We're facing a timing issue that really is problematic. But I think your solution is there. If the board wants to come up and tell us, go back and take 60 grand out of your fund balance. Remember all of the things we wrote down. One of them was to think of this as a 2-year economic storm. And that's what we were trying to do, because we think you'll be at it again. But again,
what if we had an ATA member that wants to retire, say, before July in June? Okay, what about that?
It has, again, there are a couple of other magic bullets, and those are out there.
Okay.
Those are out there. Colleen and I have told you we've talked with at least a half a dozen. By the way, the budget that the board has seen, and Jo Marie Detata asked this question before, what involvement was the staff? Every week, practically 40 members could go online and watch us develop this budget with the administrators at the table as well. So this is not going to be surprising to those people. It is to a lot of our public, but there are 2 or 3 other things that can happen. We've talked about another magic bullet is three retirements might do it, 3 or 4. We've talked with half a dozen people. The idea that people want to donate toward clubs, it's happened in a lot of communities. That's out there. The Fed's coming in. That's out there. There's a lot of things that are there for us to reinstate. And the one Mr. Penninger has brought up.
But the difference is those are all rolling the dice. Taking the money out of the fund balance gets it done. We don't have to roll the dice and see what happens. Now, Curtis, back to your point about when Mr. Palzak and Mr. Willery came to volunteer. They were attempting to begin a program that did not exist. They wanted to demonstrate that there was not just a need, but there was interest in the program. But what you're suggesting of going to the teachers to volunteer, you're putting one teacher against another. Well, I'll volunteer, but I'm not going to. So we're going to have my club. They're not going to have yours. I don't think we want to put anybody in that kind of position with their colleagues. I don't think that's the way to go. I think the way to go is if we believe in these clubs, and having been a principal and a superintendent, there's a lot of kids who are in school because of the activities.
Correct.
Whether you want to admit that or not.
No, it's correct.
I think those things make it possible for those students to be in school and to get an education and to have an opportunity later on. So I think they are all important. And I agree with you, Curtis. I think we shouldn't let those things slide for an amount that is 0.0001 of the overall picture. And we do have money in the fund balance, and I don't think that's much more than 0.002 of what's in there.
Correct.
I would make that recommendation and put those back in. And if any of those other things happen with the stimulus or teachers retire, good for us, that's a bonus. But we shouldn't count on that and say, well, if this happens, we're going to do that for these kids. I think we should make a statement and say, we're going to do it for these kids.
Correct. That's why I bring this up. John, wouldn't you agree with this?
I do. I do have a question. So, Colleen, is that even doable at this point? If we said we wanted that, that could be done and we could still vote tonight?
You could. I mean, we're going to have to vote on an increased budget expenditure amount. So I just did a quick calculation. If you added 0.3 onto the tax levy, so if we went from 3 to 3.3%.
Oh my gosh, you can't do that. Look at what you have
Curtis, let her finish.
All right.
So now, Curtis, if you look at it, it's the same venue. It would bring in an additional $63,000 by adding 0.3% onto the tax levy. Then you wouldn't have to change your space. Obviously, you would reinstate the programs without using fund balance. So it's either way.
So if we used fund balance, and then some of the dice rolling with retirements happened, could that fund balance be replaced with that money?
No, at the end of we can't change it at that time. What it would do at the end of the year, it would fall back down to fund balance.
Back into the fund balance.
Correct. If we didn't spend it at the end of the year.
I wouldn't be in favor of increasing the tax rate. But I certainly would be willing to take the chance on the reinstating the clubs, and at the end of the year, bet that would probably be able to replace the fund balance.
So if what you're going to do, if you want to put the 60,000 back in, you would have to vote, and I believe Lori probably has a resolution. You would have to change the board of resolution to change the total budget spending to reflect the additional $60,000.
And you don't even know. We don't know what the exact amount is. It may not even be a full 60. Correct.
Correct, but I mean we have to come up with some kind of number. 85 was the original amount that was in the budget, and we put back in the money back on the marching band based on your input.
Right.
So at the risk of Colleen hitting me, but she's too far away.
I can slam my cover on the screen on the computer.
I know.
That's what you're going to say. What you're going to say.
Managers, fortunately, look ahead. Business managers know what she's going to have to face in a year.
Which brings up a point, Dr. Colucciello. I've been begging for a 5-year plan.
I know that.
We've got through this budget.
Before the 30th, I'll leave it for
that
5-year plan would never have anticipated this.
Yeah, the pandemic would kill the 5-year plan.
We'll work on that, Curtis. I promise we'll work on that. I just completed mine, so we'll do a 5-year. I think it's important.
Thank you.
With CODIV and without CODIV. Colleen, what would the resolution read?
Laura, you have the resolution. Are you there?
I'm here.
Yep, I'm here.
Resolution?
Okay.
Well, it's the resolution. It's resolution 500, and it reads that the Board of Education adopts the 2020-2021 tentative budget in the amount of, and it currently reads $75,858,918.50, and authorizes the interim superintendent of schools, Dr. Raymond Colucciello, to submit the amount to the State Education Department for public notice. So I don't know if my math is right. Plus 60 would be 75,918,918.50.
You got it.
Okay. I would say let's move ahead after hearing all those students, and let's figure it out, and then Rich Roberti and Colleen will be the magicians at the next budget. What's left in the fund balance? I think I don't think it's any time you do this in favor of students, you're not making any mistake.
Right. Agreed.
Yes, I support that also with taking it out of the fund balance instead of raising the tax levy. I just want to, I feel compelled to make a quick observation. A moment ago, I've heard a concern over the district not being able to find money. And to be fair, last week, the district asked us as board members if we had any concerns or things to decrease. That's where we mentioned the marching band, that the district has been amenable to us as board members to listen to us and not, I've not seen them respond negatively in the face of being neglectful to do what is best for our district and for our students and teachers. So I just felt compelled to say that.
And you're 100% right, Reverend. They have.
Okay. Are you fixing the amount in the resolution, Lori?
Yes. So you just gotta, I don't know if you want to change it on your resolution 500. So the tentative amount is 75,918,918.50.
Okay. Okay, and that's what the board has agreed to with that amount in that resolution. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Okay, good. All right, moving on. Do you want to pass that resolution right now? Or do you want to put it in the, no, let's do it separate.
You know, Dr. Bush,
yes.
Lori already changed that in the board docs. So the new figure, if I heard it correctly.
Yeah, no, I didn't get to change it in board docs yet. I've just changed it on my hard copy. So.
Oh, okay.
So I'll change it after in board docs.
So would the board like to vote on that now, or would the board like to have it included in the regular resolutions to pass everything?
Let's vote on it.
Okay, let's vote on it. Do I have a sponsor?
I will.
Kent said it first, so we're going to let Kent go first.
Whoa!
Sorry.
Right. Mr. Battisti?
Yes.
Ms. Datata?
Yes.
Mrs. Mancini?
Yes.
Reverend McCurd?
Yes.
Mr. Murdoch?
Yes.
Mr. Penninger?
Lori, I saw he got off a little bit ago. I don't know where he went.
Do you want me to continue?
Do you want me to text him? I'll text him too.
Yeah, I think we can wait until we hear his voice.
Oh, I don't have it. I don't have it. Does anybody have his text number that they can text him?
I can.
All right. Is it possible? Did he come back on?
Not yet.
No. All right. Is it possible to kind of pull that and not vote on it until he gets back on?
Well, Dan is texting him right now.
While we're waiting, is there anyone who would have any questions for Sandra or Christine?
Christine, can you talk us through some of how the educational realm has been as far as our special ed students and such? I realize it's been hard for normal students, let alone those that need additional assistance and such.
Absolutely. So I think we're finding more success with our students when we do that direct instruction. The teachers surprisingly are having great success, I think anyway, with the little ones. That's who I worried most about. I think our little students, our younger students, as I call them, are more tech savvy than I gave them credit for. And so we're having great success from that to their benefit. Certainly there's a lot of pairing with students. There definitely is some struggles. I'm not going to say there's not. Getting in those different services with regard to teletherapy, OT, PT, you hear me talk about that a lot. Speech, each day they're finding new ways. I was in a meeting today with a parent and they talked about doing some different things. So it definitely is a lot of collaboration with the parents. Each week they're connecting with parents and meeting them where they're at, meeting their child where they're at, both academically and from a therapeutic standpoint. So I think like Dr. Cruciello has said our last meeting, while we're in an early stage, we've made such great gains with it. So I'm really proud of the work that they've been doing. I'm always impressed that they've engaged in the staff have engaged in high levels of professional development. Teletherapy, for example, is new for our staff. This whole remote learning is new for everybody. So kudos to them for having to engage in, quick online training. That's new, for them, and collaborating as a department and with colleagues even outside. So they've been doing great. And we've been getting some really good feedback from parents as well.
Have we had a good amount of participation from these parents and students? I mean, I realize that reaching people can sometimes be difficult. So are we getting through to everyone for the most part?
I would say we're probably somewhere around 50 to 60% participation. There are definitely a handful that are struggling to be engaged. I think the students who have multiple challenges are definitely struggling the most. Some of what we have provided is more that visual activity. So we provide, that a Google Meet similar to what we're doing, and it's the parent working with the student and the teacher kind of providing different activities. So it's more that conversation or interactive between all of them. It definitely is different than it would be in a classroom, but they're finding different ways to connect with that parent and student or just that student. But definitely it has to be more of a parent involved type activity.
How are you doing the stack forms, Chris, under these circumstances?
So Kim's been overseeing all that, and she's been doing a great job with that, as she always does. Dr. Bo, she's like a trooper with that. We've been getting a lot of guidance from certainly Tara, and she's been keeping us in the loop with next steps on a lot of different things. Yeah. So,
okay. Thank you.
So I have a question, if I might, for Christine.
I just want to add one thing. I'm sorry, Reverend McCurd. As I've said every week, a lot of ESY is still unknown for us, which is always so concerning. But we did survey our parents, and I think our anticipation was that, we're anticipating that it will be remote, but until we have that guidance, we don't know. And it was great to get the feedback from parents that 95% of them want to participate in remote, even if it is remote learning. So that tells me that things must be going fairly okay with them. And that's really good feedback. There were only a few that whether it was a complication with work or it wasn't working with their child. So I took that as very positive for our staff and for our students.
I just heard back from Curtis. He said that his Spectrum service shut down. So I told him that we would circle back to him.
Curtis.
Okay.
I wanted to ask a question before Christine.
Sure. How can I help?
Okay. I know before the COVID-19 happened, that we had to discontinue, declassify a couple of students within the program. My question is, are we being careful not to do that during this period? Because this is a very, very challenging time. I know personally for parents.
Absolutely. I would agree with you. I think definitely that's very mindful, and all the steps that we take during our annual reviews right now, knowing, if we do declassify a student, looking ahead, what kind of supports they may need, given the time that we're in, giving the potential of what things might look like, and then sometimes just holding off on those meetings until the fall.
Yes, because we know personally the effect of having that happen and then go into this without that extra support and help. So I'm glad to hear that that's not being continued.
I appreciate your concern.
During this time.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. While we're waiting for Curtis, does anyone have anything for Sandra? Or Sandra, is there anything that you would like to share with the board tonight?
No, the online instruction is going very well. Like, we had our struggles at the beginning of COVID-19, but now things are going a lot better. At the beginning, I had parents emailing, parents, students, and teachers emailing, struggling through online learning, but now it's been pretty much a breeze. So they're really, really getting used to it. So pretty much everything has been successful with our online learning for regular education. So that's what's happening with online learning. Right now, my time has been shifted to personnel with all the reductions in staff. I've been helping out, cleaning up our seniority list with Karen Belli, to making sure that we do have our RIF reductions in staff, called the bidding process. The correct people have bids on the correct positions. So right now it's been a lot of time spent in personnel. And that's all I have. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. I think well, if we don't have any other questions, we'll go on to the Board of Education committees. And Curtis is in charge of the audit, but he's not on yet. So I'm going to skip over to board policies. In your packet tonight, you received two policies. One, which is going to be taken off of the policy book. We're going to delete it. That's 7243, because that is embedded in the new policy 5676. And tonight you get to see that. But at the next board meeting, after you review it, then the board has the right to passage. But the new policy 5676 has everything in it that needs to be in it regarding the issues with parents and the revision of the policy. So that's what's in your packet tonight. So we had one policy that's going to be eliminated. That's 7243. And the next time we meet, we're going to be meeting on the passage of 5676, which is all encompassing with the other one as well. Any questions about that? Okay. Now let's take a look at the resolutions. If there's anyone who has any questions about the resolutions, now is the time to kind of talk about them. I don't think anybody's been visiting anywhere. Is that correct? Reverend McCurd, have you gone anywhere?
Okay. No, just recently to the middle school, but that's it.
Okay. Anybody else with any visitation?
I've been picking up school lunches, and my kids love them. And all of the volunteers have been fantastic. Everybody is so pleasant, so kind. So while we're not necessarily visiting them, I've been there and I've seen people, and my kids are happy and fed. So
school lunch is so popular at your house, huh?
They are. I was very apprehensive because earlier on they wanted nothing to do with them. Going to school, they wanted nothing to do with them. And I went out, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go pick one up. I brought it home. I was telling Nancy, it was like Christmas morning. They were so beyond excited. I'm like, I have to pay you to eat these half the time. But they get excited to see what's in them. So it's kind of comical.
That's great.
That's cute. That's cute. Well, anything to make a child happy. That's perfect. Okay. You're looking at the resolutions to see if you have any questions about any of them. I know you like to look through everything. $499 budget. $499. That $499, Colleen, that's an example where you have to move budgeted items from one line item to the other? Because you sent us, I counted $8 million worth of transfers.
Absolutely. Had a lot of shortages in some of the accounts, and obviously there were some reclasses in other accounts, but there was some increased spending, as you can see by some of the expenditures, so we had to transfer to cover those shortages.
I think special ed was one of them. That's you did a lot of transfers in that area.
Yep, we were short close to 400,000.
Oh wow! Oh my! Okay. I had a question about the resolution 507, the athletic trainer, and I'm curious with maybe you can help. With athletics being put on the back burner, we don't know what's going to happen in the fall. We know our football players can't use our turf. So is this the athletic trainer contract? Do they get paid by the hour, or do we have to?
It looked like it was hourly.
She gets paid by the hour.
Yep.
Okay. So even though there's a dollar amount in that resolution, they still get.
Yep, it's not to exclude, not to go over that amount. That's a dollar figure that we have to stay under.
Okay. Well, with the athletics being curtailed the way it is, it's going to be very interesting what Carla can do.
Well, the bulk of her hours are with the athletic portions of that we are not. What's being cut, she sometimes can get to those activities. Most of the time, there's varsity level activities that she's already at.
Okay. All right. I'm just curious. It's the same thing with resolution 517. And this is probably for you, Christine. We have to have summer program for 12-month programming for our students with special needs. But how are you going to do that? You have a teacher aide in 517. How are you going to do that?
Again, right now we don't have the guidance on ESY. While I think all conversations that we've had thus far seem to lend itself towards the continuation of virtual learning or that remote learning, we have to plan kind of both ways. So while we're heavier on planning remote, we've got to have the backup plan and the staff in place in the event that.
Yeah, I understand, because I'm trying to figure out. Yeah. You have a teacher aide in there, but how would the teacher aide facilitate in virtual learning?
They won't. They won't. And I have prepped them. Obviously, the teachers are prepped for both options and would be needed. But obviously, the aides, that's a different conversation.
Okay, so we're approving, but not necessarily expending the funds to pay for it.
Exactly.
Okay.
I just have to have those in place in the event.
Yeah. Understood. All right. Anybody else who have any questions about any of the resolutions?
Nope, I'm good.
John?
No, I'm fine.
Gavin?
No, not about that, but again, extend our thanks to the administration for working on it. It's a huge undertaking to prepare a budget, and preparing a budget with a blindfold on in the dark without lights is even more challenging. And they've done a yeoman's job in doing this with our direction, and then even tonight with the change that we made. They're here for the benefit of our students, and people need to appreciate the fact that they're here doing everything they can provide our students with the best education we can do as a school board and as a community and as an administration. And I know Colleen will be appreciative. She'll be able to go home and sleep for more than an hour or two coming up soon. So thank you very much, Colleen. You've come
I'm already changing school budget notices and everything because we have a very, very, very tight timeline.
I didn't say when, I just said you're going to be able to.
Okay.
It's the future. It's an unknown, but at some point.
So the property tax report card that you have before you tonight to vote on, we're just going to have to probably put within that resolution a slight change because that was based on the old values. But if you're all in agreement to amend it to the current, just put some kind of resolution in there to reflect the additional spending, that would be appreciated. That has to be voted on and before I submit it to state ed, which is due on the 22nd, which is Friday.
Oh, a lot of time.
Yep.
Now, you're not talking about the tax report card, are you, Colleen?
That has to get amended to reflect the changes that we voted on tonight.
Oh, my.
What number is that?
If I ask a quick question, sorry, I was kicked off somehow, and I couldn't get back in. That was the weird thing. This is Curtis.
Oh, we know it's you, Curtis.
Okay. So what did you end up voting? And thank you, Deanna, for your help. I was able to get in this way. What did you didn't increase the tax rate, did you? To 3?
No.
Additional?
No.
Okay, good.
No.
Okay, but you got to vote on it. We voted on that.
We're still waiting for you, Curtis.
I'm sure you did, John. I'm sure the timing was. Did you notice the timing of when my thing went out?
I noticed it. Yes, I did
notice that.
Yes.
Curtis, you have to cast your vote though, because everybody else has voted and we're waiting for you.
But I don't know what everyone's talking about. This additional. Why on the report card would you need to change something?
Because we're changing the spending. We're changing the spending amount and the increase and decrease changes. A lot of the numbers change on that because of the change in the spending.
Okay.
So are we going up to 3.3, Colleen?
No, you decided to go and use fund balance. That's my understanding.
Okay, so it's still 3.0.
Correct.
And Lori, Lori, we held up the vote on that till Curtis came back, right?
Yep. Okay. And I just have a question first. Colleen, something has to be changed. You said on the property tax report card resolution 501, because it doesn't say anything specific.
Oh, it doesn't?
No,
Yes,
they.
Okay.
No, but on the resolution it doesn't, Lori. But on the report card itself, we'll need to reflect any changes.
We should continue the vote.
Colleen needs.
I need it to be approved. Otherwise, I cannot submit it to state ed on Friday, which is statutory reporting.
The way the resolution is written now, you can.
Correct.
Okay.
We should vote on 500. Completed.
Yes. And then that's with the amount changed, right, Lori?
Do you want me to start all over again with the?
Yes.
Might as well.
Yeah, and I want to make sure you have the correct amount in that resolution.
Okay, so I'll read the resolution.
Okay.
And this is with the change. So
Yes.
Resolution 500 is resolved that the Board of Education adopts the 2020-2021 tentative budget in the amount of $75,918,918.50.
Correct.
And authorizes the interim superintendent of schools, Dr. Raymond Colucciello, to submit the amount to the State Education Department for public notice. And do you still want to keep Kent as the sponsor for this?
Yes, yep.
So Mr. Battisti?
Yes.
Ms. Datata?
Yes.
Mrs. Mancini?
Yes.
Reverend McCurd?
Yes.
Mr. Murdoch?
Yes.
Mr. Penninger?
A quick question. Are we voting on resolution 500 only?
Yes.
Yes.
You're not doing as a whole then, correct?
No.
I vote no.
Dr. Bush?
Oh, wait. Maybe I'm not understanding.
Correct.
Are you stating the tentative approval of the 2021 budget, 500? Is that what I'm voting on, or am I voting?
Yes.
I don't want 497.
It's just the one resolution, Curtis.
Okay, that one I vote yes on. If it's 500, yes.
Dr. Bush?
Yes, absolutely. Now, okay. Now, which resolution is Curtis questioning?
He just didn't want the single resolution. He's fine with. It's the other resolutions that we vote on that he may have a question on.
Which one?
490.
I don't know.
He said 497. The treasurer's report.
Yeah, I think I know which one.
Oh, the budget transfers is 499.
No, I need 497.
Okay, 497. 497.
Yep.
Oh, that is. That's the treasurer's.
Right. Curtis, you're asking to pull that separately?
Yeah,
Vote on that
separate.
separately.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, now, Colleen, wait a minute. Okay. Well, so we're going to vote on 497 separately. But where's the resolution? Is it 501 on that other that you have to give to the state, the property tax report card? What do you have to? Anything change on there?
No, you're approving it. I'm just going to have to modify it slightly for the budget modification. It's
Okay.
not a problem. Yeah.
Okay. Then I guess we're ready to go. If no one has any other comments, questions, or concerns about any of the resolutions.
Okay, so Bill, do you want to do the numbers?
Would be 494 through 496, 497 to be voted separately, 498 and 99, 500 was already voted, and then 501 to 518.
Okay. A sponsor for the group resolution?
I will.
Okay, Mr. Battisti?
Yes.
Ms. Datata?
Yes.
Mrs. Mancini?
Yes.
Reverend McCurd?
Yes.
Mr. Murdoch?
Yes.
Mr. Penninger?
Yes.
Dr.
This is for the count as whole, except for.
That's right. I want to get my vote in. Did you say my name, Lori?
I did. Dr. Bush?
Yes.
Okay.
Now we're going to do
Resolution.
497 separate.
Right.
Thank you.
Sponsor for 497?
I will.
Mr. Battisti?
Yes.
Ms. Datata? Ms. Datata?
Where the heck? Oh my God.
The gremlin throwing us all off.
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
Mrs. Mancini?
Yes.
Reverend McCurd?
Yes.
Mr. Murdoch?
Yes.
Mr. Penninger?
No.
Dr. Bush?
Yes.
Okay, that's it.
Okay, that's it. Do I have a resolution? Oh, by the way, Gavin expressed himself explicitly on behalf of the board to thank everybody for your due diligence in regard to developing a budget, which was not an easy task, and even being open to change things at the last minute. Thank you, everybody. So do I have a resolution for someone to call the meeting to an end?
Yes.
Gavin.
Okay, Mr. Battisti?
Yes.
Ms. Datata?
Yes.
Mrs. Mancini?
Yes.
Reverend McCurd?
Yes.
Mr. Murdoch?
Yes.
Mr. Penninger?
Yes.
Dr. Bush?
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Thank
Good
you.
teamwork
Thank you.
tonight.
Yeah.
Great
Thank
teamwork
you.
tonight.
Get those
Nice work.
people out to vote. Get
Good
those
night.
people out to vote. Good night,
Yep,
we do.
everybody.
Night.
Bye-bye.
Night.